Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read the double parashos of Tazria and Metzora. And of course, center stage in these parashos is an individual who we're introduced to, the Metzora, the person stricken with tsaras. The Torah tells us, this is in the beginning of Parak Yud Gimel, beginning of chapter 13, Adam kieh ba'ar b'saros eis al sapachas o bahares. The person will have some type of discoloration in his skin. V'aya ba'ar b'sar l'nega tsaras v'huva el aron hakohen o el echad mi banav hakohanim. In order to determine whether or not something is saras, you have to go to the Kohen. The Kohen will take a look at the lesion, will take a look at the abrasion, will take a look at the discoloration, and will tell you if it's saras or if it's not saras. So the truth is, a word about saras. We know saras is not simply, very loosely translated as leprosy, but leprosy is an actual physical disease. Saras is not really a physical illness, but rather saras is a physical manifestation of a spiritual illness. The Gemara tells us that the person is stricken with saras because of certain negative spiritual behaviors. The Gemara lists a whole list of negative behaviors that result in saras, but perhaps chief, from most notably, most well-known amongst them, lashon hara. Person speaks negatively or slanders another individual. Ultimately, again, they present with saras. So it's a physical manifestation of a spiritual illness. And what's interesting, of course, is only the Kohen could determine whether or not you have saras. Right? So in other words, even if you learned the entire parsha with all the commentaries, you went through the Mishnayos and Maseches Negoim, so you know all there is to know about saras, you cannot declare yourself a Metzora, or for that matter, again, declare yourself that you are free from saras. The entire process requires a Kohen. Now, why is that? So the Mishnah Maseches Negoim in Parak Beis has an interesting phrase. The Mishnah says, Kala Negoim Adam Roeh Chutz Menige Atzmo. Literally translated, a person could look at all types of blemishes, Negoim, except for his own. Now, on the most basic level, what this is referring to is as follows. If a person is a Kohen, say a Kohen himself gets one of these skin blemishes, and let's say this Kohen is very well versed. He is the tsaras posek for the entire community, right? He's got these halachos down klar. He has it clear, right? He knows them cold. Even he can't paskin on his own shayla. He has to go to someone else. He has to go to another Kohen to decide on whether or not this is saras. You can pass judgment on all of the blemishes except your own. Except your own. You have to go to a Kohen. Now, this phrase is a profound phrase by itself, because what the Mishnah is telling us in an incredible way is often we're able to see everyone else's blemishes. Right? I could tell you what's wrong with every other person I know. I could tell you what's wrong in the world. I could tell you everything. But if you ask me what's wrong with me, what's in a state of disrepair, what are my blemishes, what are my deficiencies, I'll get back to you. I have to think about that. We're often so proficient in seeing the blemishes, the negoim of the other, but yet I'm often so blind to my own. And therefore, again, the Mishnah is teaching us, Kol negoim adam roeh chutz minige atzmo. Often you can see what's broken in everyone else, but lamaisa, I often can't see what's in a state of disrepair in me. And by the way, that's why the entire Metzora process requires a Kohen. Because what does the Kohen represent? The Kohen represents a person in your life who loves you, who cares about you, who only wants the best for you, and who will tell you the things you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear them. I mean, I guarantee you, the way it worked is when you showed up to the Kohen with some type of skin blemish, he didn't just say, okay, problematic, not problematic, right? Tamei, tahar. I'm sure there was a conversation. The conversation probably went to tell me, Rabbi, what's going on in your life? Tell me, how did we get here? How did we get here? Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to go over? Because saras doesn't just appear, poof, something must be going on. Do you want to talk? And the Kohen would often allow me to go ahead and access things or deal with things that up until that point I either didn't know, didn't acknowledge, or didn't want to acknowledge. Sometimes you have to go to someone outside of you in order to be able to understand you. Why? Because kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz minige atzmo. Sometimes we're so good at seeing everything else that's broken, but to see the most important broken things, which are the broken things inside of me, that I often have a lot of difficulty seeing. So lesson number one is, in life you have to have your own Kohen. You have to have someone who you could go to who could give you that real advice. It's not the advice you always want, and it's not the feedback. There are some people who say they love constructive feedback. No one likes constructive feedback. No, if you're honest, no one likes it for the simple reason no one likes to be told they're doing something wrong or they could be doing something better or doing something different. I want to feel like I'm doing just fine. We don't like constructive feedback, but we all need constructive feedback. There's a reason why you can't paskin on your tzara'as yourself. You have to go to the Kohen. You have to go to someone outside of you. You have to seek out outside counsel. I have to have those people in my life who, again, could tell me the things I don't want to hear, but I need to hear them. Why? Because often we just can't see our own blemishes. And this is an incredibly difficult thing, because the truth is often we go through life, and if you ask me, am I perfect? Of course I'm not perfect. So tell me what's broken. Tell me what's broken. And a lot of times in life we have difficulty like being able to articulate, I know that I know that there are parts of me that are in a state of disrepair. But like, what do I have to work on? What do I have to do? What do I have to address? Sometimes it's hard to know. There are times in life where I have clarity. It becomes crystal clear. This is my problem. This is my challenge. This is what I have to work on. But sometimes, like when life is going pretty well, and I know I'm not perfect, so I know there are things I have to work on. But what is it that I have to work on? And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, says something absolutely amazing on this same phrase. Right? This phrase from Mishnah Negoim. Kol hanegoim adam roeh, chutz minegei atzmo. Right? Which again, as we said before, means that all of blemishes a person could see except for his own blemishes. Okay. The Rebbe puts the comma in a different place. Rebbes are allowed to put commas in different places. Right? So the Rebbe says, Kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz. Any blemishes you see on the outside of someone or something else, minige atzmo, are reflective of your own blemishes. One more time. Kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz. Whatever blemishes you see on the outside of someone or something else, menige atzmo. Those, in fact, are reflective of your own blemishes. The Rebbe here echoing a sentiment that already originated with the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, that the world is your mirror. If you want to see how you're faring in life, the great litmus test for that is see how you look at other people. And often, the deficiencies and the negativity that you see in someone else is often the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows me a window into what's happening inside of me. Right? You ever have an interaction with somebody like, the person is such a jerk, such a this, such a that. I have all these different names, all these different descriptions. It's interesting sometimes to take a step back and to ask myself, well, maybe the Ribbon Shalom is giving me a little bit of a mirror. And maybe there are elements here that I see in this other individual that maybe I possess also, and that I need to go ahead and introspect and look inward and contemplate that maybe what I'm seeing is a reflection of me. Now, is this always true? Right? Is it sometimes that they're just, negative people who do negative things and I'm in a good place? Of course. But it is an incredible thing how sometimes the notion of the world is our mirror. Because remember, if you take these two meanings of the same phrase, Kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz minegei atzmo, we'll call that the misnagdish reading of it, just the straight reading of it. A person could see all other blemishes except their own. Often I'm just blind. I'm blind to my own struggles. I'm blind to my own challenges. But I don't want to be blind. I want to work on myself. I want to become a refined person. I want to elevate myself. So how do I do it? And it's the same phrase. Kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz. So what do you see? When you look at other people, what do you see? Do you see all of their faults? Do you see everything that's broken, everything that's negative? When you look at life, do you see, this is terrible, this is horrible, this is this is that? Are you seeing all the negativity? Well, just know, kol hanegoim adam roeh chutz. Sometimes everything that's broken that you see outside on others and in life, minige atzmo. Maybe that's the gift Hashem is giving you in order to see what you have to work on inside of you. It's the same phrase, and it just gives us two profound life lessons. Number one, often I can't see what's broken inside of me. Get a Kohen. Get a Kohen. Get for yourself a life Kohen. Whether it's a Rebbe, a Rav, a Rebbe, a teacher, a spouse, a friend, a sibling, a parent. Get someone in your life who you know loves you, who you're confident making yourself vulnerable to, and who's going to be willing to tell you the things you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear them. And lesson number 2 from the same phrase, Kol nigoim adam roeh chutz. Whenever you see something broken in someone else or in something else, menige atzmo, take a step back and see, you know what? Is the Ribono Shel Olam perhaps showing me my mirror image? When I see that which is broken in everyone and everything else, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me a window into my own soul and showing me what incredible work I have to do. No one likes constructive feedback, not from the Kohen and not from my world mirror. But when we get it, it's the greatest gift in the world. May we be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem, to have someone in our life who could tell us the things we need to hear, even if we don't want to hear them. And may we Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem, to become vulnerable, sensitive, and introspective enough people to know that when we see something broken in this world, in other people, or in circumstances, perhaps it's an opportunity to make something a little bit better, to fix something, to make something just a bit more whole within ourselves. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.